Hello writers, my name is Sandra and welcome back to my channel where I share writing tips, my writing journey, and writing inspiration. So today I wanted to answer the question, can anyone write a novel? Well, my short answer is yes, but the long answer is yes, but they might just write one novel or they might never finish their first novel. But I'm here today for this short answer, this short and enthusiastic yes. Here are my 3 reasons as to why I think everyone can and should write their first novel. So without further ado, let's get started. Before we get into the reasons, I just wanted to read a short passage from the book Novelist as a Vocation from Haruki Murakami, the well-known Japanese writer, and I'm going to read you what he says here about becoming a novelist. He says, "An inspired novelist, by contrast, needs only a basic ability to write. Most people have that. A ballpoint pen, a pad of paper, and the capacity to make up a story to turn out something resembling a novel. Whether they have received any specialized training is quite beside the point. There's no need to study literature at the university level. It's fine if you study creative writing, but just as fine if you haven't." Now let's get into my reason. My first reason is that everyone has a unique life. Everyone has a unique and singular life of their own. When I look at the people around me in my life, I can already see these unique differences. When I look at my parents, my friends, my sister's boyfriend, my ex-boyfriend, my partner, etc. It's so baffling to me that all these people, the only thing that they have in common with me is that they know me and I know them, literally, and they're part of my life and I'm part of their lives. But at the core, all of our lives are so singular and so unique. Sure, maybe we all live in Canada, or maybe we all hate winter, or maybe some of us hate winter more than the other. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about really what makes you unique, as in your lived experiences, as in your thoughts, as in the way you go about your life and the way you want to live your life. Their jobs, their upbringing, their identity, their background, their struggles, their interests, they're all wildly different. Sometimes there's some commonalities, but it'll never be the same commonalities all in one. Even the ways of thinking are utterly different and unique to their own. And I would argue that's what I love about them the most, their differences, their uniqueness. Now, the reason why I say everyone is so unique in their own is because I grew up listening to my parents tell stories of their upbringings, and for context, my parents are in no way, shape, or form writers or readers. They're actually immigrants, so they actually struggled a lot for the first, I would say, 18 years of my existence with the English language. But they still found ways to communicate and explain their own upbringing. And what was shocking to me is that their upbringing were so different between themselves and between me, although they were born 3 years apart. Of course, they were born in different countries. My dad was born in Austria, my mom was born in Iran, and they came here together. But just the way that they tell the story in itself, the way my dad adds interjections, the way my mom explains it like it was a dream, like it was not even real. It's just the art of storytelling is in all of us. And not only that, the uniqueness and the unique life that we all live is so different that when my parents tell me stories of their lives before I was born, or the things that I don't recall, it feels like a novel is being told to me. And I know my parents will never write, but they would. They would be able to write something if they wanted to. And this is exactly why I think everyone is able to write a novel, and it doesn't even have to be about your life or your life story. It literally can be fiction or non-fiction that directly reflects the inner thought or the inner experiences that a person has had. My second reason is that everyone has a unique voice. As I mentioned earlier, my dad's voice is super unique. I think that he has a way of wording things that are not only different because he's an immigrant, that also has something to do with it, but it's just the way he thinks and his mind thinks. And I often find that sometimes the way my dad thinks is really hard for other people to understand, but because I grew up with him and I grew up in close proximity towards his thoughts, I know exactly how he thinks and when he thinks it, and it's very fascinating, it's very interesting. It's not the way that I think all the time, but I can see some similarities, but we're so different. His voice is really unique, and I think everyone's voice out there is super unique because not everyone talks the same way, not everyone formulates a sentence the same way. Even if we follow the same subject, noun, verb formula, we all say things differently. We all add interjections, we all add a certain different way to our pattern of speech. And I think this translates well also in written form. Of course we can replicate writing styles, but we could never successfully replicate a writing style or a writing voice. Even AI can pick up on some patterns and write things in a certain way that would coincide even in a way that Stephen King will write. But the problem is we also evolve as people and as writers, right? So our writing style will always have that unique characteristics that belongs to ourselves. I still hold the belief that no one can write like Stephen King than Stephen King can. And sure, your writing voice is not like your speaking voice, but it's still your inner voice that you are exploring. It's still you. If I gave everyone watching this video a writing assignment of 1,000 words with the same writing prompt, I guarantee you, even if you guys end up writing the same topics or the same characters by magic without even consulting each other, the writing style and the writing voice will still be utterly different. The story will still be unique just because of your writing style and your writing voice, even when the story is not original. My third reason is that everyone has a unique interest or two. I think that we always forget that everyone has their own unique interests and own unique hobbies. Like, even when we share hobbies, we don't go about the same way as participating in those hobbies. As a writer, I find myself doing a lot of research on different hobbies and different areas of interest, but they're not my areas of interest. So sometimes I will not even do the research for certain areas, but a person that has unique interests and special hobbies will be able to talk so much more in depth about these hobbies or these interests because they love them and they participate in them and they've been involved with them for X amount of years. I'll know how to research rock climbing, trombone playing, and ballet, but I'll never know what it is to play a trombone. I'll never know what it is to rock climb. I'll never know. Actually, I know what it is to rock climb, but that was a very brief year in high school, and so I totally forgot. And I'll never know what it's like to be a ballerina because those are topics that do not affect my life, that do not really interest me. If I wanted to do a research for it for a character, I could, and I would put the time and effort into that. But someone who has been a ballerina will write something that I will definitely be reading to help me inspire my writing and to help me correctly write something about a ballerina. But there are certain topics and interests that I will never even try to talk about in my writing because they're not interesting to me. If I have a character that's physically active, the last thing I'm going to think about is rock climbing. Instead, I will do the things that I love to do, which is boxing. And instead of having them play the trombone, I'll make them play the piano because those are my specific interests, my area of expertise, my areas of research. And so that's why everyone is so unique that they have a thing that they can talk about ad nauseum, whether it's in fiction or nonfiction. The things that I can talk about hours and hours and hours usually end up creeping into my novels. So I like talking about relationships, I like talking about mental health, I like talking about reading and writing. And most of my characters, I know it's repetitive, but some of them and a lot of them are engaged in those topics without being so on the nose about it. All of this to say that many people from many walks of life, many different interests, many different writing careers do end up writing a novel because they're the perfect person to do it. They want to share their unique interests and experience. And what I would explore in my writing is not necessarily what my mom or my dad or my friend or my sister would explore in their own writing, which is what makes writing so compelling and which is what makes writing available and accessible and attainable for everyone. So yes, I think anyone can write a novel. So I hope this has inspired you to start writing your own novel. I hope that this has encouraged you. I hope you're not going to listen to other people that say you can't write a novel unless you have X amount of degrees or X amount of expertise, because the only way to write is to write. So hopefully this helped you. And if you have any thoughts and experience to share, please share them down below. Let me know what are some of your special interests. What are some themes and topics that you like to write about? I would be so fascinated to know, and I would really like to pick up your book even maybe in the future if you're working on something. So let us all know down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, there's going to be more writing videos on Wednesday and Friday, so stay tuned for that, more writing advice videos. As always, all my links and all my social platforms will be linked down below, as well as the book that I referenced, which is Novelist as a Vocation, so you can always feel free to look at that. For now, I'm going to go write, and I'll see you on the next writing video. Bye!